Good morning, Intenders.
Good morning.
Welcome and welcome back to Morning Intentions. Today is Thursday, April 23rd, 2026, and it's the only April 23rd, 2026 you're going to get. So make it count. Start off on a serious note.
Now you're kind of starting to sound like your mom.
Well, you say that like it's a bad thing. That's a high compliment, I think.
Well, that's kind of how I would talk to you.
Well, you got me thinking yesterday when you were telling your story about how you used to wish you could move because you thought happiness was somewhere else in the world.
Yep.
When you said that, I started thinking, have you stopped saying, I want to move? And when did that happen? And it's like, oh my goodness, you're right. That was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. And like I said yesterday, nothing has really changed in my life. I mean, the house looks the same. Maybe I've put a coat of paint on a wall or something, but it's not like that house is different. The outside of the house isn't different. It's the same place, but I've changed. And I had to really look at why I always thought happiness was found outside of me. Of course, we've talked about that so much in the podcast, and that's what we'll always continue to talk about that, because happiness is an inside job. Even the Enneagram that we use with our clients, it's always pointing to, okay, we think that if we have this relationship outside of us, we're going to be okay. It's going to keep us safe. But the only thing that really keeps us safe is when we move inward and we come from a place of authenticity ourselves. And so, yes, that's been one of the greatest, most painful journeys of my life, but it actually was worth all the effort. Because you hear about people. There's a Buddhist teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, that I always enjoy reading his books because he has suffered so much in his life. And yet he comes from this place of happiness and contentment. But how did he get there? He got there by practicing peace and joy and compassion, no matter the circumstances, no matter what was going on. We were talking about meditation a few weeks ago. He's a wonderful meditation teacher. Happiness comes from within, not from without. And he's one that he had severe circumstances in his life. And yet he's able to come, and has been able to come, from a very peaceful, joyous, compassionate place. And that's the goal. That's our life's work. That probably leads us into our next and final nutriment, right, Ada?
I was hoping you were going to say that because I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, okay.
So on to our fourth nutriment.
And our final nutriment.
Yes, our fourth and final nutriment to nourish ourselves so we can have peace and joy. And as you pointed out the other day, they also help us be in alignment with ourselves. This nutriment is what is influencing us and our moods and how we see the world. Now, we can talk ourselves into a bad mood. Kind of like what we were talking about yesterday. We can look at everything that's going wrong, what we don't have, what we wish would be different, and we could just ruminate on that over and over and over again. And before you know it, we're going to be in a sour mood. We're going to just be so ticked off that life isn't what we want. And by golly, we won't have a good day. That's how this nutriment works on an individual level. The other way it works is more on a group, or you could say a collective level, where if other people get together and they're all talking about how everything is going wrong and it's too cloudy, it's raining out, now everything is awful, even the people that can feel more happy and more jolly that day can start to feel a little more sour. Like, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it isn't all that great. Ugh, now I'm ticked off and miserable too. We can pass around our bad moods. And that's where this nutriment comes in. What are we talking about to ourselves? What are we saying to ourselves? Are we talking ourselves into a bad mood? Are we talking ourselves into thinking the world is just a terrible place? and there's nothing we can do about it? Are we part of a group, and are we the primary agitator who's talking everybody down and making everything feel just awful when it doesn't need to be that way? We can talk ourselves into a bad mood, or we can talk ourselves into a good mood, depending on what we say and think to ourselves, and we can do the same for others. We have the power to influence everybody we're around. It makes a difference how we show up in life. If we're at the dentist, and every single time I go to the dentist tells me how no one likes going to the dentist. Now, I don't have to let that affect my mood if I don't want to, or I can say, thank you for cleaning my teeth. It makes my life better knowing my teeth are clean and had someone check them over.
Does this really happen?
Yes, it does. That's not a hypothetical example. That's a real thing. Every
time you go to the dentist says that people don't like going to the dentist?
Yeah, they complain. They say how awful it is. The hygienist says the same thing.
Oh, my goodness.
And so I could say, oh, wow, now I feel bad. No one likes going here or something. Or I could say, thank you for helping me have better teeth. Now, if I say thank you and speak that to them and have a chipper mood, that's going to make their day better.
But also what they're doing, that's more of the collective.
That's true.
Because they're taking what they have heard probably multiple times, and instead of making a shift and saying to themselves, because obviously this is poking something that doesn't feel so good inside of the dentist, where if you hear that and then you could come back with, I worked very hard so that you don't have to come very often if you take good care of your teeth. But when you do come, I'll be here ready to help you. I mean, if he could come back with something like that, instead of almost feeding into it, because he's telling that to you, and I know you're always excited to see the dentist.
I am, but that's what this nutriment does.
Yes, it's when we find ourselves getting sucked in to whether it's negative culture at work. It could also be, this is tough. This is a tough one. Our partner can be negative.
Oh, we hear this one a lot.
And if our partner is negative, we do have to do some serious work and have some serious talks, because that becomes then a boundary issue. We're going to be talking about boundaries as soon as we're finished with the nutriments. Next week, we're going to have a little refresher on boundaries for the first 4 days. But that's a boundary. When we think about an emotional boundary, if someone's always bringing us down, always saying the negative thing, always raining on our parade, that can become something where it becomes a boundary. And we have to remember, when we set a boundary, we're going to talk about this next week, we have to have a consequence when somebody breaks the boundary. But we really can't allow others to bring us down. And we need to be aware when we're bringing others down. What is that old saying? Do you light up the room wherever you go? Or do you light up the room whenever you go? We have to think about that, because we want to be a positive presence in this world. Not fake.
No, not fake, but there's enough negative already. We don't need to add to it.
Yes. And this fourth nutriment is for us to think about how we're showing up, and also for us to think about, are we influenced by how others are showing up?
Are we influenced, and how are we influencing others? And let's have your quote, your old saying, your old adage be our intention for today, our reflection question. Do I light up the room wherever I go, or do I light up the room whenever I go? Be honest. You don't need to go around and confess your sins to anybody. Just check in, reflect on this, and maybe this question might influence you to show up differently if you find, maybe I'm one of those people that light up the room whenever I go. No shame, no judgment, just check in. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our day is better because you are part of our day. See you tomorrow.
See you then.